All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And this is going to be the next chapter in the Splitgate 2 relaunch community feedback or whatnot. I might title the video a little bit differently in order to appease the algorithm a little bit more, or at least try to. But for the most part, we're going to get right into this. And for this particular video, we are also going to be covering the infrastructure as well as game modes and stuff like that as far as the game is concerned. And things like that. So because it is important and all that can make the difference in the world. And that goes by the very first thing that I want to mention. And that is, with all due respect to the Splitgate 2 theme, I think the original Splitgate 1 theme or a remix of the original Splitgate 1 theme should be the main theme of this relaunch. This also gives a nod to the OG Splitgate 1, especially since it's going to be sunsetting and getting to a certain point to where it's like the end of an era as far as Splitgate 1 is concerned. You know what I mean? So I think that would be something that would go really well with the fans. And quite frankly, personally speaking, I think the original Splitgate 1 theme, like the theme that you hear on the menu and all that kind of stuff, I think it's better than Splitgate 2's theme. With all due respect, of course, right? It's got a little bit more epicness to it or whatnot. And if you don't want to just copy and paste it and put it on to Splitgate 2 because it's Splitgate 2 and not Splitgate 1, then I would say, give it like a remix. Give it a little bit of a remix that kind of reminds people of Splitgate 1 and why they fell in love with the game in the first place, as well as familiarizing new players with it. But I think that would go a long way. And obviously audio cues as well as audio music gives you a different feeling, because when people get into Splitgate 2 and they hear that same theme, it's also going to give them memories of a few of the things that they didn't like about the original version that you guys released, respectfully speaking, right? So if this is going to be a complete relaunch, or should I say a relaunch, it needs to have full impact in every single way possible, right? Just like this one here. So I think that would be a really good start. So let's move on to the next one. So we're going to be here on the main menus, the main lobby. The main menus and the main lobby need a new look. Now, it's already been confirmed by Ian himself that a post-game report is coming, and it will be even better than Splitgate 1. Splitgate 1's post-game report was actually pretty damn solid, and the fact that Ian basically said that, he believes that they can do even better is definitely a good thing. Definitely a good thing, especially with the incoming, progression system that is going to be coming upon relaunch as well. That's obviously going to pair very well with everything else. But with that being said, though, I think that however they choose to create that post-game screen or whatever, like, I think overall, like, the main lobby needs to have a little bit of a more traditional look, if that makes sense. Like, to be able to see all the gamer tags of all the players, like on the right hand corner of the screen, for instance, or the left hand corner of the screen, whichever one you choose, and make your character model on the screen like look bigger on one side or something like that, so you can have the entirety of the look there, and it gives you that very, very specific type of cool vibe to it, because it also gives you a little bit of a reminder of the OG days, right? Or should I say, a little bit, I mean, granted, it's still being done in games today, but when you have that kind of look to where you can see everybody in the lobby and stuff like that, or you can see the gamer tags or just everybody that's on your team or whatever the deal is, it's kind of a good feel or whatnot. And of course, when you have your character right there, in bigger form on one side of the screen or whatnot, that's pretty cool. So and the background as well. I think the background, even though it's cool and I don't have any personal problems with it, again, it's all about making this feel and having the most impact as possible as a relaunch. So I think the background, in terms of where you see your character and all that kind of stuff, I think the background itself needs a change as well. Make it different. I'm not necessarily saying that you should copy and paste what you did with Splitgate 1, but I'm just saying it could use a change. You know what I mean? And this includes things like the way the details and the art style of the store is presented, maybe the colors here and there, some stuff like that. Like, all of that legitimately needs to change. You know what I mean? It has to make a change in appearance as well, right? It needs to look like a relaunch and not just play like one, and not just have the features and all that kind of stuff. It needs to have a look, because we need to have the past of this game in a way, in terms of the feel and the look and stuff like that, kind of be in think of the past and just be like, present to everyone like, hey, boom, this is us now. So this is the start of a new beginning. So let's go all the way with it. Right. All right. Let's see. Now we're going to get into a little bit more juicier details, as well as requests that a lot of the community has been talking about over the last a few months or whatnot. As a matter of fact, I'll even go as far as to say that, members of the community have been talking about this ever since either beta or full launch, including members that are not a part of the Splitgate community that, maybe have tried the game and then have left or whatever it is. But they have a point in terms of what they said. So for instance, standard FPS features need to be in the game, such as an FPS counter within the game itself, as opposed to Steam or whatnot, right? We need a server region location and, of course, ping, right? So I think those things are very important. Even XDefiant itself had that. Every single first-person shooter pretty much has these features and stuff like that. So especially when it comes to console generations of this generation, as well as PC, especially for those. I know this may not be very common for old-gen consoles in terms of the Xbox One and the PS4, which this game still supports, but for the most part, if you can have them in there in some way, shape, or form, I think they should definitely be there. All right, next up. Now, this is something that has been a little bit divisive by the community, but I think map voting would be a good idea. To my knowledge, Splitgate 1 even had map voting, so from my memory. But in terms of where we are now with Splitgate 2, and as well as the kind of flavor that Splitgate 2 is going for, do you guys think that they should keep it, or just make it to a point to where they have the map vote, or just not have it? Now, I personally think they should have it because of what I'm going to mention in the details going on in this video going forward. And yes, I did write all of these down. I typed it into my laptop and I'm looking at them right now as I'm recording this. All right. So next up, and this is something that's also been talked about ever since the beginning, the ability to pick your favorite game mode instead of like having a mosh pit. I think would be a good idea. And I believe in the latest update featuring the two CEOs, the devs, I believe, mentioned this as well and hinted at it, if whatnot. And also the devs have the data, right? So they know up until this point right now, or even continuously to where we are now, they know what the most popular game modes are, right? So and they have the data. So I think keeping the most popular game modes and possibly omitting the ones that aren't as popular might be a good idea. But at the same time, if you're going to do a relaunch, and if there's going to be a handful of new players that are going to be coming in, so to speak, that can make a really big difference, at least in the beginning of this relaunch, I think the game modes that need to be included as far as selected are as follows. Now, these are going to be all the modes in general. As well as some very interesting ideas in order to make them even more pack a punch, so to speak, right? Because again, this is all about creating the biggest impact possible, because it is a relaunch. Because if you're just going to copy and repeat the same thing you did before, you're just going to fail, right? So again, now, and again, this is pretty much their final chance if you think about it, right? So so the modes to choose would be Team Deathmatch, Domination, Hot Zone, Split Ball. And with all due respect to Firecracker, I think we need to replace that with a one life only version of it, kind of like Search and Destroy. I think this would be really good for the pacing, et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of players would be really into that, both casual and competitive alike. And I've come up with a name for it, and I call it Time Bomb. So next up, of course, Takedown has been mentioned so many times, especially for ranked. And of course, again, something that's been mentioned very many times, a no portals mosh pit or a no portals TDM, like one of those two. Obviously, to my knowledge, Team Deathmatch, as far as first-person shooters in general is concerned, is the most popular game mode across all FPS. And it is its own playlist in terms of Team Deathmatch right now. So I'm assuming there's a reason for that. And of course there is, and it's because it's definitely popular enough. So I would say a no portals Team Deathmatch or a no portals, mosh pit, I think would go a long way. And of course, you've got your battle royale, your ranked, and of course your map editor. And I have something very interesting as far as the map editor is concerned. So for those of you guys that are the lover, that really appreciate and love the maps that have been developed by the community, as well as the map creators themselves, I hope you pay attention in terms of what I have to say here, because I think this will be a really good idea in the future going forward. So now it would really be a good idea for them to feature the most popular community maps and put them into the rotation of arena, and for the competitive maps, because there is a competitive map or two that I have been seeing that has been played by the ranked community and the competitive community, including pros. And I'm pretty sure that the community, if not already, is working or has created onslaught maps as well as battle royale maps, or is working on a battle royale map or something like that. So I think if you put these just by the get-go, not by playlist, but for the get-go, if you feature these community created maps in the rotation, this is going to give This is going to give the game a really, really big dose of new content and a new feel as well, because that's something that we have not had. And it's also something that really, if you think about it, not many FPS games do. And if they do it very sparingly. I think this is one way that Splitgate 2 with this relaunch can really stand out, as well as show love and a nod to the community, both competitive and non-competitive alike. And when people go in and they see a map that they've never seen featured before played in here, it's going to feel like you're almost playing a completely different game that's releasing additional content, et cetera, et cetera. And speaking of additional content, things like all the guns that have already been developed for future seasons, which I'm pretty sure they already have been, need to be included in this. We're talking weapons and equipment, and we're also talking about even maps that we haven't seen, right? That have already been created and pretty much ready to go. Again, this is Splitgate 2's final chance in the eyes of so many. A lot of people already think this game is dead, but until it stops getting community support, it is not dead. So since they're going into relaunch, this is literally the last push, and they need to put everything into this push as they possibly can. And like they said themselves, right? They said nothing should be off the table. One more thing that I also want to mention that some of you are probably yelling at the top of your lungs about, and that is free-for-all and SWAT. Now, free-for-all and SWAT would definitely be a great addition in terms of playlists as well. But the thing is this, ever since the beginning, they haven't been refeatured. And at the same time, one of them, free-for-all in general, just hasn't been featured. And even I remember even playing during the prime days of Call of Duty. I remember free-for-all was not like one of the most popular game modes. I mean, obviously it was popular enough to where you could find matches no problem at any point in time of the day, regardless. But the thing is, when you compare it to other modes, like let's say a team deathmatch, especially, or a domination, or a search and destroy, for instance, free for all, with all due respect, can't hold a candle to those modes. Other modes were more popular, and even when you look at it from a Black Ops 3 standpoint, in terms of them showing a percentage as opposed to what the player count was, the percentage was very, very low. And right now, we're at a low player count, and I think spreading the players too wide. I mean, this list itself, in terms of the modes that I've already mentioned, are already too much, right? So, and of course, I've already mentioned the no portals, and of course battle royale, ranked, and of course the map editor. Yes. So as well as having the great idea of taking all these map creator maps and just throwing them in the rotation. I really think this would be a good idea. And of course, when you're talking about having a map voter in there as well, this gives the players the opportunity to vote for a map that they never played before. So let's say the Splitgate community that has been playing on all these, the maps in the game are excellent, in my opinion, right? But if they see a new map pop up that they've never seen there before, that's created by the community, or one that was meant to release in future seasons and we're releasing it now, guess what? They're going to want to play on that new map, right? So I think this would be a great idea. I think it would be an excellent idea. Put it into the hands of the players to choose, just like we're putting it in the hands of the players to choose what game modes they want. If a player, whether they're older or whether they're newer to the community, if they have the option to choose, that is a great thing you do for your community, because you're literally putting it in their hands, as opposed to forcing them to play a game mode they don't want to play, or let's say they like all the maps that are featured but they want to try the new one. Give them the option to do that. I think that would be an excellent idea. So, and as far as the length of this list is concerned, again, this is obviously spreading it a little bit. So if you guys think that there are specific types of game modes that, you think should be omitted from what I just mentioned here, in terms of what may not be as popular, let me know. And obviously the data, the devs have themselves, right? So if there's specific arena modes that are just not as popular, maybe they have the data, but at the same time, maybe they don't have the data, because we have arena mosh pit. So you know what I mean? So having all the separate game modes, at least for the first little bit upon launch, the ones that are played the most can stay, and the ones that are the least popular can go, right? This is another advantage of having all the different game modes for selection for people to play, and there you go. All right, next up, now this goes into disbanding lobbies and bots. Obviously we have an option right now after every game to play again. I'm assuming this is so that way, the people that want to stay in the lobby can stay, and the ones that don't basically get a refresh. Maybe that's my assumption, but I could be wrong. I don't know what you guys think about that. Do you guys think we should keep the current system, or should we not? It's not something I've heard mentioned too much, but I have heard a lot mentioned about bots. People have been saying to me, and including myself, I think I've mentioned this in the video, that you know, bots are basically like, hear me out before, you know, let me finish my sentence before you judge. Like if a person quits out, that's fine, replace them with a bot, but simultaneously while the bot's in the lobby, the game is looking for a real player to join that lobby. So bots should be something that should be temporary, and then people can join, you know, a game in progress. As far as pubs are concerned, I've even heard in my comment section that people wouldn't mind that, but at the same time, not everybody would agree. So give me details about that in the comment section below, because whatever details you give here, details will be given to the devs as well. They're going to be reading it. So, all right, next up, and we're getting close to the end here. All future upcoming weapons, of course, I've already mentioned this because that kind of went off script a little bit because I remembered everything. So I'm going to reread it here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. All future upcoming contents planned for future seasons should be at the relaunch without question. This also includes equipment, perks, attachments, etc. if available. Community needs as many new toys to play with as they can possibly get. Make the relaunch as impactful as possible and make all players, both old and new, feel the impact to have the most impact possible. And then the last thing I have written here is a few smaller features that could use a bit of a quote-unquote buff, so to speak, include things like the kill sounds, getting an audio update so it sounds and feels more satisfying to get a kill. You know, the headshot sounds already kind of sound really good as they are, so I think headshot sounds are fine. But you know, the kills or kill assists or whatnot could you definitely use an audio buff in terms of how satisfying they are. I think this will add to the dopamine effect, as well as a visual cue along with this would be cool, such as a kill counter on screen that's like similar to, like, let's say the Devil May Cry combo counter that you would see on the top right or top left corner of the screen or whatnot. To keep the momentum going for both objectives as well as kills, but even for kills, I think that would be great, and kill assists as well. As well as medals similar to Halo medals, because this game does have a few familiar things with Halo, of course, from a gameplay perspective, and has taken some inspiration from Halo. So having having those medals are really cool, because right now we don't have those medals like they are presented in Halo. So I think if you were to do that to where they could be presented and pop up, whether it's in the form of a skull on one side of the screen or even next to the number, you know, when you get a double or triple, kind of like similar to X Defiant, where you'd have, you know, multiple skulls or just something else like a medal pop up. I think that would be really cool. It would add to the dopamine effect. And of course, pop-ups to challenge progressions would be cool as well, along with the progression system, which we know would pair as well with this. But with that being said, we're going to be going over the progression system in a detailed video of its own, because that's a huge topic, and we're going to separate that in its own video. So with that being said, guys, that concludes this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of these details. If there's anything you want to add or omit, or if you think there's something better that can be done in terms of what's been mentioned here, let all comments be known in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.